Welcome, my name is Isabella Brusati and I'm the founder of Isabella Brusati Consulting. I help executive and senior managers in financial services to get digital transformation right. Over the next few weeks, I am going to discuss the concept of Fintech. If you work in financial services, it's something that you are probably very familiar with, at least with the name or you have heard of it, and you want to know more about it, as it is a phenomenon that has been growing significantly, especially over the past few years. We're talking about literally 2-3 years. Actually, in 2014, the investment in fintech has tripled worldwide. Just to give you an idea that, yes, financial services is going through a great change and a great revolution. Fintech stands for financial technology. There is not a official definition of what fintech is. I like to describe it as a new breed of startups that offer the customers a new way of paying, a new way of lending, a new way of borrowing money, and a new way of sending and investing money. The characteristic of fintech is that they are focusing specifically on one single segment. So, for example, they focus on payment. For example, they focus on sending payments cross-border, so international transfers. They actually focus on savings. So instead of playing the part of the traditional bank that usually uses the current account as the springboard for all the other services. So for example, you've got your current account and you pay your salary into it, you pay your bills, then basically the bank wants to branch out and to diversify. So for example, offers you the possibility to have a saving account, then offers you the possibility to get a mortgage, that offers you the possibility to get a loan because you have to buy a new car, then for example gives you the chance to get a credit card and charges you a hefty actually fee if for example you're using the credit card and you don't make the repayment within a certain time limit. It doesn't work like this in terms of fintech. First of all, because fintechs don't have a banking license. But the changes in regulations, especially in Europe over the past few years, have created more competition in the financial services market. First of all, how come that fintech are so popular? You can call them fintech or fintech companies, it's basically the same thing. How come that fintech companies have developed so recently? There are several factors that played together and triggered this external change, because of course it was not in the interest of the bank to change the status quo, because their model, even though it's quite archaic, fundamentally quite old, still allows them to make money. But there are several elements that we have to consider. So first of all, the financial crisis of 2008, which has eroded the trust that people have in banks significantly. Whilst before, banks were trusted, were considered honest, transparency was a little bit dodgy, but still, if I put money in a bank, I know that the bank is going to make my best interest. Well, after the crisis of 2008 and the recession that was caused by the subprime, etc., people don't trust bank anymore. If you were working in banking in 2008, bankers were considered as the evil, and those that basically caused the recession. Of course, the subprime was one of the causes, but it was a much more complex phenomenon. On the other side, we have also the millennials. Millennials basically are the younger generation that is digital native, and they are used to actually get their iPhone or their smartphone in general and use the smartphone for every single transaction, including basically engaging with the bank. Originally, banks up to about 4 or 5 years ago just had an online account that usually was very basic, so user experience zero. You just went on your online account and basically you found a very basic, but really basic information, and you couldn't do that much. for most banks this was a digitalization, well actually it's far from the truth. Or if they wanted to get a little bit more jazzy, you may actually have had a customer care, but again, that's not digitalization. The fact that digital natives basically consider using a mobile also perfectly fine to do their banking, and let's consider that millennials now are in the age where they are starting to get the jobs, they start to get basically the liquids to make also decisions on how they want to use this money. So basically how they want to pay, how they want to deposit, and so on. We actually had these two elements that play together, as well as, for example, new technologies like the possibility to use the cloud. They made the possibility to exchange information and data much quicker, and also is much cheaper compared to just 5 or 6 years ago. You can understand that basically traditional branches are not the place where the millennials want to go. But it's not only a fact of millennials, it's actually about the people that are more technologically interested, that prefer to do banking over the using an app, for example. So the branches don't have the same importance that they had just a few years ago. I probably visit my branch twice a year. I wouldn't have any issue if they close down, because I simply don't go there. I do everything via my mobile or basically over the internet. This explains that the model that the banks are using is in crisis, and the fact that they've got basically competitors that are also coming from different sectors. A service that is very popular, and this is a fintech, is PayPal. PayPal allows people to make payments online without basically disclosing the numbers and the data related to the card. It means that you don't swipe, so it means that the bank is not getting the fee for any kind of swiping, and basically they get fundamentally cut out. They provide me with the instrument, so my credit card, but the payment goes through PayPal. So the risk is that banks are going to become utilities, so that basically the relationship with the customer is going to be nurtured by these fintech companies. In this video I provided you with the concept of fintech and the reasons that basically helped this phenomenon to spread enormously, and there is no sign of stopping. In the next video I'm going to go through what's changing for the banks. So how come that the banking model as we see it, as we imagine it, and as we have lived it up just a few years ago, is no longer working and is basically threatening the life and the existence of some banks. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next week.